Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. My name is John Pollock, and today John Ramdeen, Robin Black, and I are discussing UFC 174 from this past weekend in Vancouver. We'll be chatting about the flyweight championship situation after a terrific performance from the champion. Brendan Schaub and Andrei Arlovski incite anger, and Rory MacDonald puts on the best performance of his career. The main event of UFC 174 saw flyweight champion Demetrious Johnson administer a clinic for 25 minutes, mixing leg kicks with a very successful Thai plum clinch all night long. The judges scored all 5 rounds for the champion Johnson, who made the 4th defense of the title. After the fight, he said if he was asked to fight John Dodson again, he would, but feels there are other challengers worthy of fighting for the title at 125 pounds. Rory MacDonald put together possibly the best 15 minutes of his career on Saturday, outclassing Tyron Woodley and making a strong statement for becoming a title contender. MacDonald boxed Woodley against the cage throughout the fight, mixing his strikes with unpredictability and even taking the wrestler down and ending the fight with repeated strikes, taking the unanimous decision. And UFC 174 saw the return of former heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovski to the organization, where he took a debated split decision over Brendan Schaub. The fight comes down to how you scored the first 2 rounds, which featured little activity, with Schaub clearly winning the 3rd round. Arlovski was upset with his performance and stated so after the fight, while Schaub was taken to hospital as it appeared he broke his jaw, but was cleared by the doctors and there was no break discovered. And here we are, reunited. John Ramdeen, Robin Black, coming out of UFC 174 Saturday night in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's a card that's getting a lot of mixed reviews from people, but I watched the last 2 fights, and the performances of Demetrious Johnson and Rory MacDonald, I mean, just incredible to watch. Let's start off with Demetrious Johnson here, commanding these 5 rounds against a very game Ali Bogatinov, but I think it was just such a discrepancy in terms of sheer talent that Demetrious Johnson possesses. And to watch this guy over 25 minutes, I mean, I just love watching this guy compete when you watch this speed and how he mixes in his striking, and we got to see that for 25 minutes Saturday.
It's everything, his entire arsenal, his physical attributes as well, his decision-making. Even when Bogatinov managed to get this fight down to the ground, Johnson got right back up. When he was in the clinch, he used those brutalizing knees, head kicks. Really, Demetrious Johnson showcased what mixed martial arts is all about. And I don't know if anybody is going to be able to replicate the type of performances he puts forth inside of the cage.
There's just so many different ways to talk about the beauty of what this guy does. Among them, it's just really aesthetically pleasing to watch the way that he can move when beating another man up. His job in there is to kick the crap out of another man, but it's just so beautiful to watch him do it in the ways that he does it. He threatens up and down, different angles, different ranges, different timings, different speeds. All of those things make it almost impossible to really defend. And then his defense is so good. So at one point, Matt Hume goes, bring him into the matrix. And he just knew exactly what his coach meant. Okay, well, we'll start playing this, call him out and slip and move and frustrate him and come in on different angles. He's got 17 different ways to do it, and he shifts through the phases of each of them so beautifully. It's really amazing.
It was something to watch here with Demetrious Johnson. On the flip side here, Demetrious Johnson is not at that level where he's a superstar right now in mixed martial arts. There were people filing out of the Rogers Arena. This pay-per-view not expected to do a huge number at this point. Why is that?
Because there's 2 reasons. Number one, it's a fan-friendly sport in certain respects, and it's fan-friendly only if somebody is getting their head bashed in, if somebody is taking a lot of punishment, or you're the guy that goes out there and finishes your opponents. At 125 pounds, yes, we've seen Demetrious Johnson finish guys in the past, but people have this preconceived notion that if you're 125 pounds or if you're 145 pounds, you cannot finish fights. If people cannot understand the beauty of what Demetrious Johnson does inside of the cage, unfortunately, that's not my fault, and it's their loss.
Yeah, I honestly think the UFC is somewhat to blame for this. In 7, 8, 9 years ago, you come to this crossroads where the low-hanging fruit is people love it when guys are mad at each other and they hype fights and they go out and they punch each other. That was the easy sell. That was the one, oh, okay, cool. People get this, so let's just make everyone do that. At that same time, that fork in the road, you could have said, we're going to spend a lot of effort on educating our audience, really teaching them what they're going to see. So instead of just every single show being 2 two bald guys screaming about how this is the biggest matchup of all time. Let's spend some time really teach the audience. It's been done in every other sport. People know what wide receiver routes are now. They know what the defensive trap is in hockey. Even 50% of the casual fans. The UFC could have done that. They still could do that. But if all you're doing is hyping two angry tattooed men who hate each other are going to bash each other's brains in, this is what you get.
By the way, there's a UFC concert coming up, International Fight Week, featuring Papa Roach and POD. I think that speaks to UFC culture right there. Let's move over to Rory MacDonald, a man that is not full of tattoos or a screamer, defeating Tyron Woodley, and his ability just to completely handicap Tyron Woodley in this fight was incredible. This was a 180 from the Tyron Woodley we have seen against Carlos Condit, against Josh Koscheck, and possibly the best performance of Rory's career. This was 3 rounds. You said it last week, the fact that you expected Rory to come out very aggressive in the first round, and that's what he did.
Yeah, I mean, you could listen to what Rory has to say about that loss to Robbie Lawler, and like I mentioned before, it's very similar to what George St. Pierre experienced after losing to Matt Serra. It's like, okay, I don't want this to ever happen again, and I have to make a statement every time I step inside of the cage. Well, it seems that Rory MacDonald is ready to make a statement against whoever the UFC puts against this guy. I think a lot of fans anticipated that Woodley would look for the takedown. Instead, Rory MacDonald had him frozen there, and he really had his way.
Yeah, he cuffed his feet together by, again, very similar, took him out to that black track, that outside track, and showed him so many different looks. Also, all of the big Woodley wins, he's moving forward. He got this guy to move back. He's on that front foot with the weight on the front foot, throwing that overhand right and just wrecking guys. You get him on that back foot, all of a sudden it's a little bit harder for him to work that game. He set the tone early. Also, Rory lost to Lawler, but he lost not playing his own game, and that he'll never do before. You want to knock me out, pushing you against the fence, that's what he's willing to have happen. He's not willing to lose by not playing his game anymore.
Quickly, I scored the fight 30-27 for Brendan Schaub. Your scorecard, Robin, and Ramdeen quickly.
Yeah, I had 29-28. I thought Schaub had it as he walked back with a giant thing on his face going, I just beat Andrei Arlovski. I was like, I agree. But the judges didn't see that.
I had a 29-28 for Arlovski, rounds 1 and 2, but the most definitive round obviously belonged to Brendan Schaub, and that was round number 3.
Yeah, I thought Brendan Schaub won the fight, but I mean, those first 2 rounds, robbery is a term that gets thrown out a lot, and I think coming off Sanchez Pearson, very easy to throw it out. Probably not the case in this one. We have more Fight News Now Extra, so sit back and check out more coming up right now.